Hello, welcome back to Movies on Movies. In this one I'll be talking about a very basic kind of making of documentary, the kind you find on DVDs and Blu-rays and have done for many years. It is the making of Logan, very simply put. This is on the new Blu-ray of Logan. If you're in the UK, I believe this is coming out in a couple of weeks and it will have the same documentary. And I was looking forward to it very much because sometimes with these studio releases, you really don't know what you're going to get. It could be a 10-minute fluff piece where it's like, oh, it's so great to work with this director, like the cast was so great, oh, I loved everything about it, just the most amazing time ever, and it's just like dripping with insincerity, or at the very least it sounds like it, and it just very briefly brushes over the film, and oh, this is, it just kind of describes to you what the film's about, and it's just very just stock and lifeless, and but sometimes you'll get a studio that will decide to put the money into making a more substantial piece. And what we kind of get with the making of Logan is kind of a middle ground, leaning more towards a more substantial piece. It's an hour and 20 minutes roughly, I think a little less than that. And it was a lot more than I was expecting, and I was really happy with the results. It goes through the film from start to finish, roughly. It kind of sets out the main characters at the beginning and kind of talks about them, from the actors themselves to the director, James Mangold, to other co-stars talking about the other characters. And then we move into a lengthy section about the production design of the film. Something that really impressed me was the set where Logan and Stephen Merchant's character and Patrick Stewart's Xavier are hiding out in the desert at the beginning of Logan. That was all built. And I thought, holy shit, really? Like, there was a small building there, they built around it, like the big water tank that was collapsed where Xavier is kind of staying inside. That was all built specifically for the film, and I thought, wow, I really didn't think that they had put that much expense into such a practical, not even an effect, a practical design, like to put the money into build this smelting plant. I thought was quite impressive. And then they talk about kind of winding things down. I wish that we'd had something from Hugh Jackman and even James Mangold talking about why it was the last film for Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. He never really goes into why he decided to hang up the boots, or hang up the claws, I should say. But they just talk about how what their kind of MO was for the film, how they wanted to do something different. And again, a bit more honesty and kind of candid talk from the director, James Mangold. He talks about how, you get the same superhero film, a dozen times a year. We wanted to do something different from that. We wanted to move away from the big explosions, all that kind of stuff, and do something a bit more real and down to earth. And Hugh Jackman says that Unforgiven was a big influence for him, just in terms of how Unforgiven was this, a film that Clint Eastwood was so synonymous with, the Western. And to do it later on in his career, but to kind of flip the convention on its head a little bit, where Clint Eastwood wasn't the capable and able kind of gunslinger anymore, and that's kind of where we find Logan in this film. He's really beat down, he's on his last legs, and so it tells a completely different story, and perhaps one that's more compelling and captivating than any of the ones that he told before as the character. I liked hearing a little bit from Daphne Keane, who plays Laura in the film. Obviously she's quite young, 11, 12, so she didn't have too much to offer, but it was fun to kind of hear her talking normally, I suppose. They show a great clip of her audition with Hugh Jackman where she asked to improvise the scene, so that's an incredible little detail there.
For the audition, there's a scene where she punches me in the arm, and I went home and I had bruises all over my arm. No offense to all those guys I fought, but I've never gone home with bruises until that day.
And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it, and if you're a fan of the film, I think you really enjoy the making of, and just seeing the clips from the film really got me hyped up to watch it again. And I loved how they talked about the design of the future, which is something I picked up on when I watched the film and really appreciated. I think it's set in 2029, something like that, not too far from our future, and they didn't really go crazy with it. The only thing I really noticed was the self-driving semi-trucks. There's no cab on the front, it's just the crate going down the road, automated, and I suppose that's something that isn't too far off from our own future, I suppose. So they didn't go crazy with all these high-tech stuff, and it kept it more grounded, it kept it more real and believable, even though you're dealing with a guy who's got metal claws and is indestructible. But it helps to have a background that's a bit more believable, I suppose. And yeah, anything else I can talk about? One thing I found really interesting was the scene where Laura and Xavier and Logan, they go into a casino in the film, and there's a scene of her walking through the casino and looking around. That never happened, because where they filmed in an actual casino, there's no way they would let a minor go into the casino, not even for filming. Couldn't be done, illegal. So they had to use special effects to get her in that shot, and they did a multitude of things where they had like body doubles, you know, like green screen and stuff, and you would never notice. And that's sometimes where the best special effects lie, where you don't even tell that it's a special effect. So yeah, I wish there was a little bit more about Hugh Jackman talking about, you know, why he decided to kind of call it a day. Because at one point he was saying he wanted to play Logan forever, Wolverine forever. But for me personally, I think it was such a perfect way to end it. I'm a huge fan of the film. Looking forward to watching the movie again. I haven't got to that yet, but I was really eager to get to the making of. I thought they did a great job. It was a lot more than you get sometimes on these kind of studio blockbuster releases. They'll often just slap just 10-minute featurettes on there that don't really offer too much. Special effects as well, actually. I wish they'd gone into that a little bit more, because I know they used a lot of digital doubles in the film. There's a great article about that just after the film came out, where it showed you these shots where you wouldn't expect it to be a digital double, and I was quite impressed by it, and they didn't really touch on that. So there's always more that you can go into, I guess, but I really, really like this a lot. As, you know, for made for the Blu-ray kind of commercial making of release, I think this is kind of edging towards the top tier. I think it's not great, but it's really good. And again, it feels weird to be talking about just a bonus feature and be trying to critique it and stuff, but I am trying to look at this in the kind of the wide spectrum of films on films, movies on movies. So yeah, very good, highly enjoyed it, and if you're a fan of the film, you'll enjoy it too. Thanks for watching.
It's alright by me. Apart from the fact he throws cans of Carlin into a tree. Yeah, he's really cool. Yeah, he's really cool. But he's not quite as cool as you.